I want to talk to all of you tigers. You men know who you are. I like you. Barbara Feldon and Dawn Adams made TV history together, but they barely talked off screen. Now, at 91, Agent 99 is finally telling all the executives who wanted her gone about the fake spy she married and the terrible reason she disappeared from Hollywood. From secret addictions to stolen fortunes, this is the dark story behind America's favorite spy comedy. Barbara Feldon was born Barbara Ann Hall on March 12, 1933 in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Barbara grew up in a quiet suburban neighborhood with her parents and older sister, Patricia. Her father worked in the paper box industry, and her mother took care of the house. From a young age, Barbara was creative. She loved the arts and felt drawn to performing, but she didn't know how far it would take her. In high school, she discovered acting and became seriously interested in it. She spent hours training at the Pittsburgh Playhouse, a famous school for young performers, and her skills improved. She chose to study drama at Carnegie Institute of Technology, which is now known as Carnegie Mellon University. It was one of the best drama schools in the country, and by the time she graduated in 1955, she had built a strong acting career. She was also active on campus and joined the Delta Chi chapter of Kappa Kappa Gamma sorority. Feldon's unforgettable stare, an intense and almost hypnotic look that made her performances so unique. But this wasn't what made her famous. The way she focused her vision gave her a naturally attractive gaze, and what could have been a small problem in everyday life became one of her trademarks as an actress. Barbara Feldon moved to New York City in 1957 to become an actress. She had talent and ambition, but like many newcomers, she had trouble finding work. She worked as a showgirl at the Copacabana nightclub and also did shows in a community theater. Revival of the Ziegfeld Folds. These jobs helped her feel more comfortable on stage, but they didn't get her any closer to her dream job as an actress. She needed to find another way to make money, and that's when she met Gillis McGill, a successful model, at a party. McGill suggested she try modeling, and Feldon wasn't sure at first. She thought modeling would only be temporary, not a real job, but Mill insisted, so she did it. She started as a house model for designer Pauline Trier, quickly moved into high fashion. Her tall, striking appearance made her a perfect fit for the industry, and she was soon traveling for photo shoots and making a lot more money than she did as a struggling actress. Modeling gave her more than just money. It taught her how to walk with confidence, work with cameras, style, and show personality in front of an audience. These skills would help her a lot later in her career that same year. Feldon unexpectedly made her way into TV by winning the $64,000 Question, one of the most popular game shows at the time. Her subject was Shakespeare, which was a risky choice since she had only average grades in college drama classes, but she was determined. She studied for up to 14 hours a day, memorizing every detail she could. When she finally went on the show, she impressed viewers with how smart and poised she was. She won the grand prize but missed her chance to double it. A few weeks later, she won the $128,000 Question. The win gave her a short burst of fame, and newspapers ran stories about it. With the prize money, she and her husband opened an art gallery in Greenwich Village that focused on abstract expressionist art. Despite their best efforts, the gallery struggled financially, and after a few years, Feldon found herself looking for new opportunities again. Then, she was cast in a commercial for Revlon's Top Brass Hair. Feldon sat on a tiger print rug, looked into the camera, and called the men in the room tigers. It was playful, sultry, and unlike anything else on TV at the time. The commercial became a hit. People couldn't stop talking about it, and Feldon was called Tiger Girl. The attention was both exciting and frustrating. The ad made her famous, and the pay was great. She once said that one commercial made her more money than a whole season of Casting directors now saw her only as a commercial actress. She got guest roles on shows like Flipper, 12 High, and The Man from U.n.c.l.e., but she still wasn't getting the roles she wanted. Then she got an unexpected call from Mel Brooks and Buck Henry, the creators of Get Smart. They had seen her in a Revlon ad and liked more than just her beauty. They saw charm, presence, and the kind of charisma that could work in comedy, one of the show's main themes. Leonard Stern later said that Feldon's very sensual performance in the ad caught their attention. However, not everyone thought she was right for the part. One of the show's sponsors didn't like that she had endorsed a competing product just 2 weeks into filming, and their CEO told Feldon she had to be fired. Feldon tried to fight it, saying that the commercial had been shot before she got the part, and Revlon had even agreed to stop airing it, but it didn't matter. The decision wasn't in her hands. NBC didn't back down and kept her on the show. A year later, Get Smart was a huge hit, and the CEO who had tried to fire her invited her for a photo op. She smiled for the camera, knowing she had won, but that wasn't the only problem she had to deal with. Playing Agent 99 was already unusual for the time. Women in the 1960s were usually written as side characters, not top-level spies, and when they were in action, they were usually in trouble and waiting to be saved. Agent 99 was different. Everyone knew who really got the job done. Maxwell Smart, played by Don Adams, who was skilled, smart, and always one step ahead. This balance wasn't a mistake. Show creators Mel Brooks and Buck Henry wrote Agent 99 as a mix between the traditional woman of the 1950s and the growing independence of the 1960s. Sometimes she let Max take the lead to protect his pride, but she never had to prove she was the smartest person in the room. She just was. Then there was the height thing. Feldon was 5 feet 9 inches taller than Adams, which was a problem in a business where male leads were expected to be the tallest. To make up for it, Adams would sometimes stand on platforms or slouch in scenes, or Feldon would slouch herself. It was a small thing, but it showed that TV still wasn't used to having a strong woman share the spotlight. Despite this, the show was a hit. Feldon and Adams' chemistry made Get Smart one of the most memorable comedies of its time. Don Adams was overconfident, but 99 was always calm and capable. Together they made the show work and audiences loved it. Barbara Feldon once told me an interesting fact about Don Adams. He almost never practiced. Most actors spend hours going over their lines and perfecting every move, but Adams relied on instinct. His timing was so good that he could turn an average joke into something hilarious. The sharp way he spoke wasn't just part of his character. He got it from actor William Powell, whose fast delivery had a rhythm he admired. On set, Adams had complete faith in himself. He often changed lines at the last minute or played with the timing of a joke to make it funnier. This worked well for the show's mix of slapstick and wordplay, but not everyone could keep up. Barbara Feldon admired his talent, but she said it could be hard because she had to react in real time to whatever he threw into a scene. Some cast members and directors liked structured rehearsals, but Adams believed in being spontaneous, and it paid off. He won 3 Emmy Awards in a row. Adams and Feldon had great chemistry on screen, but they were never a couple in real life. Their relationship was professional and sometimes even a little formal, especially in the beginning years when Adams was married for most of the show and Feldon had her own life outside of work. She once said that they were from 2 different worlds, which made romance unlikely, but over time they became close friends, and when they worked together again on Get Smart in 1989, their bond was stronger. Fans may have wanted them to be together, but their real bond was based on trust and mutual respect. Working on Get Smart was not easy, especially since Mel Brooks and Buck Henry were in charge of the show and had high standards for every joke. This pressure made the show great, but it also made the work very hard. Feldon admired their genius even when the expectations felt too much. She especially liked how they wrote Agent 99, since most female characters on 1960s shows were sidekicks or love interests. 99 was smart and capable, always on par with Maxwell Smart, even when he messed up missions. This balance helped Smart stand out from other comedies. Of all the episodes, Feldon's favorite was the Impossible Mission, which aired in 1968 and had everything she liked about the show. Action, humor, and even a rare romantic moment between Max and 99. In it, Max tells her that he would have liked to spend the rest of his life with her if things had been different. The episode also had one of the best parodies in the series. At the time, Mission Impossible was a hit, and Get Smart put its own spin on it. Max got orders from a self-destructing tape recorder, just like in the spy drama, but with a silly twist. Another highlight was when Max and 99 disguised themselves to escape chaos agents. Feldon got to dress up as Charlie Chaplin and act out a silent film scene, which let her show off her own comedy. Nothing was as popular as Get Smart. In 1967, she co-starred with Dick Van Dyke in the comedy Fitzwilly. The movie did okay, but it didn't take Feldon's career to the next level. In 1975, she played a cold, self-centered beauty pageant coordinator in Smile. The movie was sharp and got good reviews, but it didn't give Feldon a fresh start. She went on to play parts in other movies like No Deposit, No Return, but none of them changed how Hollywood saw her. The timing was also a problem. At that time, most movies had male leads and few had female leads. She also never fully committed to living in Los Angeles, which hurt her chances in film. Despite these setbacks, she didn't dwell on what she couldn't change. She focused on what she could. In the 1970s and 1980s, she found steady work in hosting and voiceovers, and her voice became familiar in ads for brands like Revlon. She also hosted entertainment news shows and big events like the Tournament of Roses parade. Voiceover work let her stay in touch with fans without having to deal with the hassles of typos. Over time, she realized she was more interested in quieter, more creative activities like writing, but one of the biggest surprises she ever talked about was how fame had made her feel. She never set out to be famous, so when it happened, it felt weird. She once said it was like living someone else's life. People treated her like a star, but she never saw herself that way. She knew fame could go away just as quickly as it came, so she refused to. She later made decisions based on that way of thinking. Instead of chasing roles, she left Hollywood and focused on writing. In 2003, she published Living Alone and Loving It, a book about independence that readers loved because of how honest she was. She had been one of the most famous faces on TV, but she never let fame control her. Instead, she built a happy life that had nothing to do with being Agent 99. Her first marriage to Lucien Feldon in 1958 seemed like a dream. He spoke with a European accent and told stories that sounded like they came straight from a spy novel. He said he was a pilot and even hinted that he might have been a real spy. For a young actress just starting out in show business, it was exciting, but reality soon caught up with them. Lucien had a dark side. He struggled with gambling, cheating, and drug addiction. His gambling habit was so bad that it caused him to. Barbara spent a lot of the prize money she had won on the $64,000 question, where she showed off her impressive knowledge of Shakespeare. As the marriage fell apart, Barbara realized that the man she had fallen in love with wasn't the person he had pretended to be. The man's charm faded and was replaced by disappointment. The marriage ended in 1967, but Barbara kept his last name professionally. By that time, she was famous as Agent 99 on Get Smart, and changing her name would have hurt her rising career years later. She spoke at Lucien's funeral, which she hadn't planned to do. Despite everything, she looked back on their time together as an adventure, a painful part of her life that had made her who she was today. Not long after her divorce, Barbara found love again. This time it was with Bert Noella, the producer of Get Smart. They were together for over 10 years, from 1968 to 1979. But they never got married or had kids. Eventually, Barbara realized they weren't meant to be life partners, so the relationship ended. The bond they had formed stayed strong even after they broke up, and they stayed close until Bert's death. This time in Barbara's life was a turning point. After the breakup, she moved back to New York City, but instead of looking for another relationship, she embraced something different. Solitude. It wasn't loneliness, it was independence. She didn't see being single as something to be ashamed of. She saw it as a chance to grow, explore new interests, and make deep friendships she hadn't had before. Society had long promoted the idea that happiness came from marriage and children, but Barbara never felt pressured by those ideas. In interviews, she was honest about how much she enjoyed being alone. As time went on, she saw cultural attitudes change, and the idea that a person could be happy on their own became more widely accepted. She found this change to be refreshing. Looking back, her journey wasn't just about love and loss, it was about finding herself. She proved that happiness was possible on her own. It isn't always found in someone else. Sometimes it's inside of Barbara Feldon's book, Living Alone and Loving It. It's more than just advice on how to be alone. It's a personal journey that began when her long-term relationship ended. Most people would see that as a loss, but Feldon saw it as an opportunity. She was famous for years as Agent 99 on Get Smart, but when she found herself living alone, she realized something important. Happiness doesn't have to depend on being with someone. Feldon doesn't agree with the idea that being single means something is missing. She thinks that being alone can be freeing because it gives people a chance to grow, explore their own interests, and build a strong sense of self. In her book, she talks about how to stop negative thinking and find joy in everyday life. She talks about the freedom of making your own schedule, making decisions without compromising, and finding out what makes you truly happy. Her words can relate to people at all stages of life, from young adults becoming independent to older adults adjusting to single. She even adds wise words from writers like Rainer Maria Rilke to her reflections to make them more thoughtful, but her main message is that being alone doesn't have to mean being lonely. It can be a time of discovery and fulfillment. Feldon has always been more interested in personal growth than fame. Get Smart made her a star, but she never chased fame. She liked the excitement, but she also knew that fame could make her lonely. Over time, she realized she wanted something deeper, and writing gave her that. It helped her understand herself and connect with others on a deeper level. Even now, at age 90, she still talks about how important it is to live an honest life. She values simplicity and self-acceptance, and she thinks that success isn't about staying in the spotlight, it's about finding peace with who you are. One of the most surprising things about Feldon is that she turned down big acting roles after Get Smart. Cameos in remakes of Get Smart movies, like the 2008 movie starring Steve Carell and Anne Hathaway, but she didn't think these projects would capture what made the original show so special. Barbara Feldon, who played Agent 99 on Get Smart, has chosen to live a quiet and thoughtful life in her later years. She lives alone in a peaceful apartment on Manhattan's Upper East Side, just a short walk from Central Park and the Guggenheim Museum. The space is simple and elegant, with high ceilings, wooden floors, and big windows that let in lots of light. Living alone wasn't always her plan, but she grew to love the freedom it gave her. In 2003, she wrote a book called Living Alone and Loving It, which is about finding happiness in solitude. She had spent years in relationships sharing her life and space with others, but she eventually realized that being alone brought a kind of peace she had never fully appreciated before. Writing became one of her greatest joys, and she contributed essays to many anthologies. Metropolitan magazine, and in 2024 she published her memoir. In it, she gets smarter about writing by exploring the lessons she has learned about love, career, and the power of self-reliance. Even though she doesn't act much anymore, she still does poetry readings and sometimes joins small theater productions because she loves the creative energy of live performance. She enjoys the simple things in life. Every morning she meditates before making coffee and curling up with a book because she loves literature so much, especially Edith Wharton. When she wants a change of pace, she watches Korean dramas, which she finds both relaxing and interesting. Even though she spends a lot of time alone, she is not lonely. She has close friends that she trusts and cherishes. She also values the small connections in her daily life, like a friendly exchange with a barista or a conversation with a shopkeeper. These moments remind her that connection doesn't always have to come from deep relationships. Being present and interested in the world around you. She doesn't come out into the public eye very often, but when she does, it's usually to celebrate her past work. She took part in special reunions for Get Smart, recorded commentaries for the DVD release of the show in 2006, and even came back as Agent 99 in the 1989 TV movie Get Smart again in 2019. She went to Supernova Comic-Con and gaming in Australia to meet fans and answer questions about her career. Even though she left Hollywood a long time ago, she still feels a deep connection to the show that made her famous. At the time, her famous character Agent 99 was a rare breed, a woman who was smart, confident, and on par with her male counterpart. Many fans have told her how much they loved the character and how it showed them that women could be just as strong and capable as men. Even though she was often typecast after the show ended, she has never regretted playing the part, but her life was never just about getting smart. Before she became famous as an actress, she had an unusual claim to fame. She won the $64,000 question as a Shakespeare expert in the late 1970s. She showed she could do more than just read lines on shows like Special Edition. Her work went in many different directions, but she was able to adapt to each one. Now that she is 90 years old, she still lives her own life and has created a world that is peaceful, creative, and full of interests. In other words, she writes, reads, and enjoys the little pleasures that come with living her own life.